Early Days with Bhagavan by G. Ramaswami Pillai. Sri Ramaswami Pillai's devotion to Sri Bhagavan was evident in every word and counsel he gave to devotees who would ask his advice on spiritual matters. A beautiful video of Sri Ramaswamy. Many more videos are available on the Ashrama's channel from a 1989 interview at Sri Ramanasramam demonstrates this clearly. His early days with Sri Bhagavan are described in the following article. From boyhood, I was spiritually inclined. Although coming from a meat-eating family, I turned vegetarian while still a boy. I was mainly a worshipper of Shiva, but learned about Christ and Buddha too, and revered them. Twice I visited the great Muslim shrine at Nagaur, and I understood that Allah was only another name for God. My own ambition in life was to see God face to face. This was granted to me while still a schoolboy in March 1917, when I first went to Skandashram and set eyes on Bhagavan. Reclining on the couch, he looked indescribably majestic. Since then, he has been God in human form for me, my God, Guru and all. I didn't ask for anything. I was filled to overflowing by just seeing him. He turned on me that look of heart-melting grace that he so often bestowed on newcomers. After a few days, I had to return home. There I learned the marital godland of letters and spent my time reciting it either mentally or aloud, and even writing it out. After finishing school, I went to college. Then I returned to my village, and although I had no desire for married life, my parents got me married. I had no children, however, and was soon able to give up married life and go and live with Bhagavan at his ashram. Bhagavan had lived in various caves and temples, but Skandashram was the first to be known as an ashram. He stayed there for 7 years with his mother, his younger brother Niranjananda Swami, who was to be the future Sarvadhikari, and a few sadhus. It was here that ashram cooking was first started. This was due to the presence of his mother. It was her presence that made it into an ashram. After her death, Bhagavan abandoned it and went to live beside her shrine at the foot of the hill where the present ashram has grown up. This shows her to have had greater importance than commonly supposed. During his years at Skandashram, Bhagavan still spoke little and seldom. It did not matter. His gaze was dynamic, penetrating, gracious, soul-stirring, ego-killing. In later years, he spoke far more, but his silences were still tremendous. It was on my second visit to Skandashram that I first met Pradakshina. A visitor from Madurai whom I knew wanted to go around the hill with Bhagavan, and I joined them. At that time, the lower slopes were still forested, and we took the forest path for a good part of the way before coming out on the road. The next day, I had a sudden urge to go around by myself. I started out as before, but soon lost my way on the forest track. As I started, I had noticed that one of the ashram dogs was following me. Now it ran in front and began to lead. At once, it flashed on me that this was Bhagavan's work. With tears of gratitude and joy, I followed my guide. He took me by the same path as the previous day until we came to the road, and then disappeared. And I saw him at the ashram when I got back. At the time, I told nobody about this. It was my first experience of my spiritual relationship with Bhagavan, and I was more than ever convinced that he would guide me through the unknown paths of life. Such an incident may appear trivial to the reader, but When it actually happens, it strengthens one's faith in Bhagavan, who alone can help one by his infinite grace in opening one's inner vision. For a whole year at Skandashram, Bhagavan took only one meager meal a day. I was on a visit there the day he broke his fast. I had decided to stay the night even though there was no food for an evening meal for the rest of us. I did not feel hungry. At about 7:30, one of the devotees, Ramana Brahmachari, came back with some pieces of broken coconut and some rice that he had been given at a ceremony he had attended in town. Bhagavan suggested that we should boil it up on the charcoal stove we had there and share it, as was the usual custom. He told us to see whether there was any sugar or sugar candy left from gifts by earlier visitors to flavor it with. We looked, but there was nothing at all. It was dark and raining outside, and we could not go into town for anything. I was near to tears when Bhagavan should ask for something so rare an event, and that we should not be able to provide it. At that very moment, the door opened and two students came in with a bag of sugar candy and a bunch of bananas that they had brought to present to Bhagavan. The meal was cooked and eaten, the two visitors also being invited. Bhagavan remarked that we had asked for sugar candy and got bananas also, which could be cut up and served like a pickle with the food. After eating, he said that it had been just a year, 368 days exactly, since he began to limit himself to one meal a day, and that from now on he would eat in the evening also. That was how things happened with Bhagavan. He did not work miracles. Things just happened, right? Miracles are generally thought of as deliberate acts willed by a person, but happenings like these are the result of spiritual forces already and always at work. The Jnani is God himself in human form. He never wills anything, but things happen in his presence, and the ignorant attribute them to him. His state is pure awareness. It is a matter of experience. One may get a glimpse of it in his presence. It was in 1922, when the present ashram at the foot of the hill first started, that I became a permanent resident. At first, there was only a thatched hut over the mother's shrine and a second small hut that served as a kitchen. There were only a few of us then. There were no ashram servants in those days. We did all the work ourselves and Bhagavan along with us. Puja was performed twice a day, as it still is. We spent our time doing ashram work, chanting sacred songs, walking around the hill, meditating and reading spiritual books. Earlier, Bhagavan had been more silent and aloof. Later, when crowds began to come, he was necessarily more distant. But at this time, he took part in everything, guiding and helping in every activity of the growing ashram. He was our Lord and Guru and was always with us. Devotees used to bring us provisions when they were needed, and we never felt any want. We used to share things as they came. Sometimes there was even more than we could dispose of on the spot. We even used to make tea and coffee when the ingredients were available. Though this was an idyllic state in itself, the essence of it was our striving for realization. Having attained a human birth, that is the only goal worth aiming at, for it is unalloyed, eternal bliss and peace. We can dwell on the name or form of Ramana or neither. Repeating the name Ramana inwardly is itself a good sadhana for those who do not use self-inquiry, or by concentrating on Him intensely and constantly, we may find in Him the fire of knowledge which will burn up our ego and convert us into Him, so that we realize our identity with Him, who is the Self of the Self. The state of bliss thus attained through merging into the Guru is called Guru Turiya. It is a matter for experience and cannot be explained in words. The ego is only an accretion, a shadow, a ghost, an unstable outcome of the combination of Chit and Jada, consciousness and matter. It is the source of all mischief in our state of ignorance. Nothing is lost by its destruction. It obscures and conceals the true self, which is identical with pure consciousness. This false ego is to be dissolved by steady inquiry into it, or by the grace of our most gracious Sadguru Bhagavan Sri Ramana. Sourced from The Mountain Path, January 1966.